Hey everyone, hope your summers are going well. I look forward to seeing you soon. Definitely looking forward to getting the school year started and seeing the students again as well. Today we're going to talk about positive messaging in the classroom, and this is my first video, so I apologize if it's not the best. I'm going to work on it, but I'll always value your time and I'm going to try to keep it short and sweet. A lot of you probably already know about positive messaging and what it can do for our students, and this is the only slide that I'm going to read word for word, but this is the why behind positive messaging. For students to be successful in inclusive and positive settings, their classroom behavior must be consistent with teachers' demands and academic expectations and promote their learning and socialization with peers. Appropriate academic, social, and behavioral skills allow students to become part of the class, the school, and the community. Unfortunately, for reasons both inside and outside the classroom, the behavior of some students may interfere with their learning and socialization as well as that of their classmates. We as professionals at Panorama need to understand the messages we put forward to students. If we frame our messages in a positive and empowering way for all of our students, then we will see distractions from learning dissipate rapidly, and staff members and students will enjoy their time at school much more. So that's the why behind it. Let's kind of get into what we already do. So we do use the PBIS reward system, and Ms. Parks runs that, and she's going to go over it more detail when we return or before the students arrive. So she will go into more depth with that. So I'm not going to spend a ton of time on it. But positive behavioral interventions and supports are proactive, and we want to make sure we're promoting positive behavior instead of being reactive or we're just reacting to negative behavior. Positive behavioral interventions and supports are also in play to help students acquire the behavioral and social skills that they will need to succeed in inclusive classrooms. I would also add on that they need those skills to be successful in high school. They need to be successful either in college or their careers or technical universities or whatever they decide to do after high school, and then from there on out. So it's important now in the classroom, but it's also important for their future. So considering social cultural factors with your messaging. So like positive messaging is great. We also have to understand that we work in a diverse community and that there's going to be cultural differences with messaging. That can be nonverbal or verbal. So for example, this is a nonverbal one, technically. Some cultures view eye contact as disrespectful or rude. Where I grew up, it was actually disrespectful if you did not make eye contact. So I learned that as a young teacher very quickly because I thought one student who wasn't making eye contact with me was being disrespectful. Actually, they weren't. They were just practicing their culture, and they actually had to end up telling me that because really I was kind of getting frustrated, and they just said, Mr. Like we're at my house, we don't do that because it's almost like you're stepping to them or you're being disrespectful. So I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. I mean, I guess I didn't take the time to realize that. So get to know your students, of course, but also get to know their cultures and possibly just communicate with them on saying what's okay and what's not. That way you can build stronger relationships with them, which is the whole goal, is to build strong relationships with your students. So that's the what and the why, and now let's get into the how. So how can I promote positive classroom messaging in students? Oops, skip that, sorry. So this is a long list, and I'm not going to go over it word for word, but building meaningful relationships with and among your students is an essential aspect in promoting a positive message to all your students. Again, you want to get to know all of them, not just your ones that are really interested in your subject. You want to get to know all your students. And that can be easier said than done, obviously. As you've been teaching, you know that. But our intention is that we want to get to know all of them. So how do you do that? Well, your personal interest in students can be demonstrated by establishing and maintaining rapport. And rapport can be established by listening actively instead of just hearing them. Listen to them actively and really take in what they're saying to you. Talking to them about topics that interest them. That can be, my go-to was always sports, and not all kids like sports. So it could be art, it could be music, it can be a lot of different things. Showing an interest in students' personal lives, um, especially outside of school. So if they go boxing or if they play piano, things like that, the activities they do in their personal lives, if you actually take an interest in that, that will build rapport. Letting them know you miss them when they are absent, and that's kind of huge. And even if a student comes in and they've been gone for a couple days, they've been sick or they've had issues going on, you come back in and the first thing you say is, "Welcome back. We missed you a lot," or "I missed you a lot." And really, just that simple act right there shows them that you care. Sharing your interest in stories. I'm going to leave it right there, and the rest of them you can read on your own. But sharing your own interest in stories and actually incorporating that into your content whenever you can is huge because they're getting to know you as well. If they've never been your student and it's the first day of school, they're going to want to get to know you. Other than that, you're just a stranger to them. And I believe it or not, and I'm sure some of you have known this too, there have been teachers who did not know their student's name by the end of the first semester. You should know their names by the end of the first week or two. And if you can do that by practicing and talking with them and getting to know them, it'll be a lot easier. So I know that Matthew is a Cowboys fan, and I can talk to him about Cowboys football. I know that Raven is an art enthusiast. She really likes drawing birds. That really sticks out to me. So the more that I get to know them, and her name's Raven, birds, it worked well together. So anything that you can do to remember their names and to get to know them, they're going to really appreciate that. And that will honestly impact your test scores, your academic performance as well. So develop students' self-esteem. Imagine you in middle school. I mean, I can only speak for myself, but I did not have a lot of self-esteem. It's a weird time, and even high school too. It's just a weird time. You're growing up. You're finding different ways. You're kind of finding where you fit. So self-esteem is not necessarily the highest, but it can be done by providing students with opportunities to show their confidence to others and perform skills, roles, and jobs that are valued by others. If you have a problem student in your class who's maybe off task a lot, perhaps you give them a job, you give them a role in the classroom, and maybe that will help. That's just one solution that I've found that sometimes helps. You can also foster their self-esteem by listening to them, again, active listening, and showing them that you value their ideas, opinions, interests, and skills by involving them in the decision-making process and giving them choices. So one activity that I've seen teachers use is a menu, and it's all about the same. It's all about the same subject, but it gives the students options to really take advantage of their skills and what they can do well, and that will build their self-esteem. And really, we want them to grow their weaknesses as well. So that's where the growth mindset comes in. So we want them to take risk and be okay with that, and just say it's okay to take a risk and fail. I mean, failure is not the best word, but at the same time, it's okay. It's okay if you don't find a way this time. You'll find a way. And it might take you longer than the other students, but you'll find a way. So that's why that quote sticks out to me with Thomas Edison's "I've not failed, I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." That's a good growth mindset to have. And that last slide, I'll send you guys this PowerPoint so you can look at it. But that's Carol Dweck, the person who kind of coined the term growth mindset. You can watch her TED Talk on that if you haven't already. It's kind of old, so you probably have already seen or heard about it, but it's always good for me to go back to it and watch it again because she really does a good job of explaining it and the importance of it. Acknowledge and praise students. This is pretty simple. One effective way of acknowledging students' strengths, skills, efforts, and interests is to praise them, which can create a positive environment in your classroom and encourage pro-social behavior. So if they do something that you like or something that's positive, whether it be to you, another student, or just the overall culture, praise them. It can be verbal, nonverbal, just a thumbs up, head nod, all those things. Conduct class meetings and using dialogue. I'm going to have a bunch of videos on Avid and Avid strategies. So if you're really interested in this, Socratic seminars or philosophical chairs or just tutorials, things that involve students in groups and using dialogue or meetings, they're really great because it's student driven. And the more you can create student driven activities, the more that you're going to have that positive messaging because it builds relationships not just between you and them, between their peers. So we're a big school, so some of our students may not know each other. They might not know each other's names by the end of the year, and I think that's a failure on us if we do that, if that happens in the classroom. So we want to make sure that we're developing systems and activities that allow students to meet and use dialogue and talk to each other. Again, it goes back to those social skills or those soft skills that are very important. Just getting toward the end here, other quick ways, be aware of nonverbal communication. Your body language says a lot. Use effective education techniques. So, for example, AVID or Kagan, and there's a lot more, but those are just two that stick out to me off the top of my head. Use conflict resolution and peer mediation groups or programs. Our counselors are great. They can help you with a lot of that if you need help with that. Include social skills instruction. Again, the soft skills are going to help them as much as the hard skills. Give clear and direct directions. So if you're clear and direct with what you want the students to do, the better they're going to be able to perform, especially middle schoolers. The more vague you are, the harder time they're going to have grasping the activity or what you want them to do. Use proximity and movement. This can be a good positive message just because I have never called out a student in class and it has gone well. I don't think anybody likes to be called out. So proximity does help in movement. If you're up and moving around and you're using proximity to your advantage, students will notice that and you will mitigate a lot of those negative behaviors that you don't want to see. But it also shows them that you can use that as a positive too. If you're moving around and you see them doing something well that maybe they don't get recognized very often and you point that out, that's a good positive message. Use cues, again, nonverbal, verbal cues. Follow routines. The more structured you are, the better students will be able to operate in your classroom. Establish, teach, and enforce rules. This can be school rules, it can be your classroom rules, but just be consistent with those, and the students will pick up on that. And you might have some, pushback at the beginning, but if you're consistent, the better off you'll be in the long run. Use positive reinforcement. So, for example, a token economy system. I used money and a stock market system in my class because I taught a lot about economics. But if you use something similar to that, like our PBIS system, for example, that's a good way to use a token system. And then use contracting. A social contract is great. If you can create a contract that the students feel they have some say in it, and this is how we all agree we're going to treat each other, that's a great way to encourage positive messaging as well. So last slide here. By reinforcing positive messaging in your classroom and throughout the school, we can create an environment that makes all of our students feel safe, confident, and eager to learn. We will stumble at times, but if we truly want our students to be successful, then we have to make a conscious effort every single day to spread positive messaging in our school community. There is much more on this subject that can be explored, but I hope this short presentation has sparked some interest in the subject and how you interact with your our students. Thank you for all you do, and always remember that you are awesome. So a little positive message there at the end. If you have any questions or if you want to talk about it more, you can always email me at incarn@hsd2.org, and you can talk to me at school when you come back. But if you took the time to watch all this, I really appreciate you, and I thank you for all the work you're doing. And again, you're awesome, and I hope to see you soon. Bye.